Cliches are great. There's a lot of fun to be had taking what's already been established in the collective consciousness and playing around with it like Play-Doh until you make something new, something that inspires you to create more. My favorite thing on the internet right now is to look at people's reinterpretation of classic fantasy ideas and see how much they can twist and turn these old, lovable tropes into fresh ideas. This usually leads me down rabbit holes of other people's world-building projects where they explain the reasons behind their own interpretation of twisted elves and pottery dwarves. No matter the experience level, it is so interesting to see what everyone comes up with and seeing a reflection of the artists and writers in their own creation. One of the guiding principles I'm following for designing things within Ormauk is to take lesser-known rumors about fantasy creatures or minor myths and using that as the foundation for my interpretations, all without straying too far from what they originally look like. After all, I still want to honor the original versions of what I'm trying to reinterpret by having their familiar aspects shine through the design. For my dwarves, I've always been intrigued by that rumor within Lord of the Rings about there being no female dwarves. I'll use this in the beginning as the lens at which I shine the core aspects of dwarven design through. What if there were no female dwarves? In fact, why have male dwarves either? They're usually shown as folks who live underground in a lot of the media they're in. Let's lean into it completely and have them be of the earth. These couple random questions were my starting point for my design of the duendir. I really like the idea of duendirs being made of rocks, since it allowed me to bake in the theme of craftsmanship and artistry into their biological history. My line of thought was that if these creatures had some kind of rocky carapace that was constantly growing, they'd have to wear it down through movement or purposely carve themselves into shape. Much like how humans use their hair to present themselves socially, the duendirs extend this behavior to their entire body. So theoretically, duendirs don't have to look humanoid if they wanted to. And I can imagine that the reason most of them do look humanoid is because of historical ties and shared culture with humans. Deep beneath the disk's surface, or far to the void in the icy peaks of the outer boundary, hold the ancient halls of the duendir. Primordial folklore tells that these people were born of the bedrock itself, living among the earth elements for eons until finally awakening to sculpt the world and themselves in their image. The duendir are a people of stone. The skilled masons, sculptors, or simply diligent among them can look not dissimilar to statues, while the unkempt tend to be mistaken for stout-legged boulders. A duendir will grow rapidly during their youth, generating layers of stone similar to marble all over their body. This growth slows following maturity, but remains for their lifetime, requiring duendir to constantly sculpt and resculpt themselves anew. Duendir living together tend to riff on the same styles, creating a sort of visual accent for their social group. These styles tend to mimic their surroundings, often incorporating local flora or fauna, or emulating the form of their non-duendir neighbors. Beneath their hardened exterior, duendir are a host to a molten core which scholars believe provides them with their life force. Mature duendir have at least one core opening, or crux, that is formed during their development. This opening is a major part of their reproduction process. Any duendir desiring offspring will take portions from any number of others. They will often spend months tinkering with these materials, the product of which tends to look like a pocket-sized effigy. The object is then thrust into the duendir through their crux and fired for what is usually under a day, although some firings have been reported to take weeks in extreme cases. The new duendir, a sum of the parts of their peers forged in the fiery innards of their predecessor, bursts through stone skin and into the world. Another striking element of most duendir's body is the lines of gold that often run through their carapace. Being that they are made of stone, duendir are susceptible to cracking due to extreme temperature changes or blunt force trauma. Across duendir cultures, a tradition that remains constant is the tendency to repair these cracks with gold. Some experts theorize that this tradition is what drives duendir into the depths, while others posit that only a race of people who can dig so deep would squander gold on repairs. Indeed, the duendir are an industrious folk, most dedicating their lives to their craft, whatever it may be. As one might expect, societies composed primarily of duendir are scarce. Those that remain most commonly owe their existence to an ancient, prosperous past. Governance in these places almost unanimously takes the form of a sector-led workers' republic. Industries unify into parties and vie for power in government directly. Since duendir are instinctively concerned with improvements, the parties that win are most often backed by those who can demonstrate their public works would benefit the people the most. In this way, the state can produce wonders molded by the many hands of natural-born sculptors. By no means is the idea of rock golem dwarves an original idea by me. I'm sure it's a concept that's been visited before. But for what I wanted duendirs to be like in Ormauk, it's perfect. The whole concept so far is a great platform for myself and my friends to create more stories and varied character designs later down the road. For this specific illustration, we wanted to create a more ocean-themed duendir. We played around with different directions we could take the design to. There were more mascot-like proportions that showcased ocean-themed animals as the duendir had. There were some that had more human proportions, and some that had more obelisk or totem-like head designs. Exaggerating the head shapes was a perfect way for me to have fun with their designs and push it to keep each iteration distinct from one another. Between my friends and I, we really liked the version with a raincoat design and manta ray themed head shape. This was perfect for the character we were making for the project we're currently working on. But for this illustration, I wanted to use the diving suit design because of the direct connection to ocean themes which these suits evoked. From the ability to sculpt their likeness how they wanted, the collaborative creation of their offsprings, to the way duendirs tend to raise up innovators to the higher echelons of their societies, duendirs are a true embodiment of lifelong artists. If you're still here, a warm, rough, marbled thank you to you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.